Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 5th New Players Tournament. I'm philothanic. Joining me today is AndreasG for casting. In this game, we have Thyladras, Drakens, Mr. X, and Zero. Andreas, what do you think about this map?
It looks like a resource-rich maps. I guess it's plenty of places to spawn. However, if you look at the prices, only glass is starting double. And we do also see that the players have the opportunity to spawn all 6 founds here, I think, unless that's a UI bug. Is that correct?
Nope. We will have all 6 founds for all of the matches. I
Ooh.
highly recommend that nobody found elite. So really, you're just dealing with 5 founds.
Yes, I guess I see a couple of the scavenger spots. Then of course you have expensive, quite a bit of places. Some scientists, I guess, sort of, but not really. What do we actually have out here?
Zero going for the first found, taking a expansive for, what would that be, 8,000 debt. The only thing about this found is it's not as near to water as I would have liked. Otherwise, it's just fine.
It's gonna have to chip in everything because of water.
Yeah. Yep. Next was Thyladras, or let's call them Ladras, just to make it easier. Founding with next to no debt. I like this robot spot. It seems pretty good, close to water, close to geotherm, plenty of items.
Grabbing a carbon early on though, which, oh, no, it's wind turbine. Maybe a bit too soon.
Wind turbine. I'm not usually a big fan of going for early wind turbine, but it did not inhibit their ability to get to HQ2. But I would like to see them build a pair and make that 2 wind turbines. Going for 1 wind turbine, never a good idea.
He does have almost no debt, so there is an opportunity for making money there, but as you see, the market is not that lucrative quite yet.
Yeah, and also power started low, which is something we didn't mention just yet. Let's take a look at our last 2 founds, and then we'll get back to what's going on. Mr. X founded as scavenger in the crater with all that carbon. Didn't get the high water, but is going to settle for a medium. There are no nukes, and there are claims on the map, so both our scavenger and nomad friend will be quite good. And what do you think about the nomad found, Andreas?
Where is the silicon, yeah? Where is it?
That is a very good question. The nomad doesn't have any silicon.
It seems like we got somebody founding nomad, believing it's a scavenger, and that they can live off carbon, but that's not the case at all. So I think they're going to have a very, very hard time indeed, because as the viewers probably know, if you go nomad, you use the primary resource of silicon to upgrade. So if you don't have silicon coming in, the price is going to rise like a rocket, and you're going to have a hard time upgrading.
Fortunately, there is one thing of silicon right to the north, which will help, but it won't be enough, and Drakens did just claim that, recognizing their mistake. And there is not any silicon next to their other HQ, so they'll be shipping very long distance.
Yeah, just looking at the map, the one place you could really possibly spawn nomad and get away with it would be down where Sarah spawned. And Sarah went expansive, yeah.
Yeah, you'd put one down there, and then the second one up near in this water aluminum patch. That second HQ is founded correctly. It was that first HQ over here in the carbon that was not placed correctly.
Drakens he is going to chip in silicon from down at Sarah's base, but that's going to cost him quite a bit in fuel, so far from optimal. I just want to point out a little detail of Sarah here too. I would say he grabbed the wrong silicon possibly. Oh, okay, it is a high, yeah, but he could have gone for adjacency with a high that Drakens had instead, where he could have expanded to get another silicon and get 50% extra.
Yeah, the other thing that Zero needs to do is Zero has 1 black magic tile, that steel mill that's right by its lonesome. That needs to have a pair to get that adjacency bonus. Zero has bought an extra claim, so there's 2 claims to work with, so I'm not sure what exactly they're going to do with those claims. They're going to go into a bunch of split black magic tiles. You always want to build in pairs, never single production tiles, ever.
Yeah, but then again, it is kind of awkward when it comes to the still. We see a shortage, or a surplus, I mean, coming through here, and dropping the price under 20, which is ridiculously low in early game. People can really buy up on that and pump through upgrades without producing too much themselves.
Right. But what I would like to see is, the farm have a second pair. It's fine if you put the one steel mill down first and HQ1, and then you upgrade HQ2, and then you're like, well, that steel actually didn't turn out to be as high priced as you want. And then you don't put a pair, but the single farm. Going into a geotherm, interesting choice. Power's finally a little bit high. Mr. X is leading the pack at HQ3 as a scavenger. What do you think about them?
They certainly have a decent lead in here, and they're tapped into the glass market and such. And the power market, let's not forget about the power market. And they're actually out of... No, wait, what? Okay, they're in debt, so they got to pay that down.
They'll be out of debt very shortly, though.
They will not have the benefit of the steel price. If Zero or Thyladras, if they take advantage of the steel price and just buy up quite a bit, then they can easily catch up. But none of them seems to take advantage of it. There, Thyladras takes the upgrade, and he's actually making power money here too. So you got an opportunity there.
Yeah, I do like the amount of black market that's going on right here. Drakens, realizing that they were going to have a problem with this shipping thing, went for a very early patent lab, and that just got mutinied away.
Ooh, and Mr. X, he paid through 50k of debt, I believe, and is now making power money himself too. It couldn't have been 50, can it? I thought I saw 50, but maybe that was Zero.
I don't think it was 50. I think it was 5,000.
Yeah, I got them too mixed up. He was in AAA. But anyways, he's making money now, and he's the one who's the most advanced in terms of upgrades, so it's rather interesting.
Yeah, Mr. X definitely head and shoulders above everybody else, one HQ level, about the same amount in the bank. Zero is running into issues on HQ2. They need an additional 9k to get the upgrade, but they do have 37k in the bank. So they just need to sell down some of this food that they have sitting here, sell down some of this glass, and they'll be able to get to HQ3, which is what you want to do. So that way you can add some more pairs to this very split out production.
It's still ridiculously low. So just selling out of some food would give him the upgrade he really needs here. I really like the play out of Mr. X though, managing to mutiny Drakens' patent lab, which was undefended, and is now acquiring slant drilling for that. I'm not sure what he's going to do with slant drilling, but lovely to see regardless.
Slant drilling allows, so if you look at Mr. X's base, Mr. X was only operating off of one medium and two lows. Slant drilling turns that into a triple of mediums, which means if Mr. X is thinking about going into an off-world, he'll have the carbon production to get that off-world online.
But he just transitioned.
I say that, but they do have 800 carbon sitting there, and it is $1 a share carbon right now, and that's in part because Drakens is selling it down. So maybe they didn't need that slant drilling.
Yeah, he got enough for an upgrade in Offworld, and it wouldn't cost him too much. So, but I don't know, maybe he just likes slant drilling, likes to have the opportunity there. But then again, he's not a scientist, so he can't take advantage of it that way. I'm not too sure. Maybe he's thinking about denying, but what would he deny? I'm not too sure about that either.
So when in doubt, nanotech is always a good patent to pick up. Like if you pick up a patent lab and you mutiny, you're like, I don't know what to get. Nanotech, you almost never can go wrong with nanotech. We do have some players who are struggling in D-debt, so financial instruments would have been an okay pickup, especially as a second patent, because that patent lab was sitting there mutinied for another 40 seconds, but nothing was being researched, so that was definitely an option Mr. X could have done there.
And the fact that we're on Mars, thinking machines is always going to be nice, so you can maybe rush into that off-world we talked about with the carbon price being so low and start shipping off-world. Always a opportunity.
So I was going to talk about Thyladras, but Mr. X is making a attempt at a majority buy on Drakens right now. Now Drakens is very low in share price, so 26k means that they might be able to defend themselves, but they need some income. And what do they have that's actually making them money?
Ooh.
Not much. Thyladras is going to join in. I think Drakens is going to be our first player eliminated.
Yellow decided to really screw him over even further there, helping Mr. X out, getting that buy.
So if Thyladras continues to buy into the rest of Drakens, I'm okay with that, splitting it with Mr. X. Thyladras is making the bet that instead of helping the single leader, that Lydras is helping both themselves and Mr. X, assuming they're peers by that move. But if you're going to do that, you can't leave these 4 pips in stock not bought in. You need to buy into those 4 pips, so that way you get equal benefit from the buy as Mr. X does.
And he doesn't really have the money, does he?
No, so that's why it's probably a little bit of a mistake. That being said, is making decent money on World. Didn't get enough water, so is missing out on that life support market. Zero was able to claim a bunch of water. That was right next to Lydras.
This being a newcomer tournament and everything, it's understandable that somebody going robotic decides to not think about the life support market. But when you look at the prices over the board here, you see that all the 3 life support markets are very lucrative indeed. And just producing some of that just to sell it would be a tremendous income for somebody like Thyladras at this stage.
I'm calling them Ladras. It's just easier to ignore the
Ladras, okay, Ladras. I can do that.
But Ladras is HQ5. They do have 5 claims to deal with. There is a bunch of scattered lows to the north of them for water, so they can get some more water income and maybe get into some of this life support market. And they did beat Mr. X to the upgrade, and right now they're roughly even in cash on hand, but Mr. X does have those 5 pips and Drakens. So Mr. X definitely leading at this point.
And bought up 2 stocks in himself too, which is another 60k, which he can take out whenever he wishes to do so. Sarah, we're sitting on quite a bit of cash there. Finally decided to take the upgrade, yeah? And he's trying to catch up.
Now they're HQ4. Unfortunately, they do not have auto off turned on, so these glass kilns are losing them $12 a second, and they might not be aware of it.
Oh, that's unfortunate right there.
An issue.
And we also see the water problem really showing itself here that we talked about in the beginning of the game. Water price is going up and he's running a deficit. The other players could really take advantage of this if they want to.
Right, and let's check out who
Mr. X.
Probably going to win off of the strength of this 8.8 plus water surplus.
There you see the slant drilling really coming in. He's now running 2 highs and 2 medium off of that slant drilling of water, so you can really cash in a lot from that.
Yep, the old caster's curse. As soon as we say we think it might not have been such a good idea, it turns out to be a great idea.
Great to see though, players being 1 step ahead.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, we would expect people like Lydras to go into more water themselves, which they aren't doing. So, you know, new player tournaments, different rules. People are a little bit less experienced. It's a learning experience as much as it is a tournament game.
But then again, if you look around from Thyladras' point of view, then it's not really too easy for him to grab more water if he doesn't have teleportation, and the teleportation is currently under control by Drakens, who's bought out, so that license is not going to be given to him. Oh, blame for everybody. Lovely.
It was a mistake on Lydras' part not to anticipate that water would be an issue and not go into it early when they had the chance. I mean, another mistake Lydras is making is their HQ5. They have 6 claims that are not being used.
Oh, that's not good at all.
I mean,
was that Thyladras you said? Wow.
Yes.
Really got to get those claims down and start making money with them.
Straight into an Offworld. And I mean, if you hold down the X key, you can see that there are plenty of items that would make Thyladras money. Most of them in the life support, which is a little bit hard to get into. But, you know, they still could maybe go into... what else? A Pleasure Dome wouldn't be a bad idea. Pleasure Dome's making decent money.
It's really going down on the stock market right here though. Thyladras buying into Sarah with 2 stocks, then Mr. X making the move at Thyladras. He really got to cancel that Offworld. I do believe if he want to save himself. Otherwise he might go down here, and he doesn't seem to have any intention of doing so.
Yeah, Lydras is going to eat it right now. Needed to cancel the Offworld, use that money to purchase up all their stock. So that means Mr. X right now in the driver's seat, 1 HQ ahead of 0. Half of 2 subsidiaries bought out, 2 pips of stock bought into 0. It
But
looks like Mr. X's game to win.
for everybody watching, Thyladras really had the money to secure his stock, but it was all tied up in a Offworld market being built, and it was over 100k tied up in the Offworld market. And to save himself, he has to cancel out of there. And what happened was that he didn't have the money available on hand, forgot he had it all tied in Offworld, and didn't know that he could cancel out and sell the resources, and therefore left him open and vulnerable. So it's a big misplay there from Thyladras, essentially giving Mr. X a big present.
Yeah, and then hopefully Lydris knows about the 5-share defense. We can see Mr. X has all 5 shares, which means this last 5 shares has to be purchased as a block. You can't purchase them individually. So to buy out Mr. X, that last purchase is going to be double price, and you're going to have to pay, what would that be? About a good deal. No, that's going to be regular price. It'll be 600k just to purchase those 5 shares all at once. So if Lydris is able to defend themselves, Mr. X have had to wait a long time to earn the roughly 300k before they could purchase out Lydris, and then maybe Lydris Offworld would have paid for itself.
Now we're just waiting for Mr. X to really mop up this game. Landris was really the only one able to somewhat challenge him, and when Landris is out of the picture, I don't see Sarah standing too much of a chance right here.
No. Now we should mention for anyone watching the game, we use time as tiebreakers, so we do not allow players to surrender, even when it's obvious they have lost. That is a tournament rule. It is not Zero sticking their thumb up.
Here we go there. You got 100%.
Mr. X does have the 100%. And I think we've seen 2 things that we can talk about, maybe 3 things common to a lot of players in this game. First of all, upgrading without a plan to use your claims. We have Zero sitting on 6 claims. We had Lydris sitting on 6 claims being unused. When you upgrade to HQ, your HQs, you need to have a plan to use those claims for something.
Absolutely.
You can sit there and try to come up with the perfect item to place those claims down on, but it's strictly better to go for a good building fast than it is to go for a perfect building and take too long.
The second lesson that should be learned from this game is make sure your stock is secured in later game. Otherwise you might end up where Thyladras ended up, having the money but still being bought out. Lost opportunity right there. But well played from Mr. X, absolutely. That was
Mr. X.
Well done.
Mr. X getting a good found, recognizing that water, while usable on this map, was a little bit difficult for Lydris and Zero based on their founds, so went into slant drilling to secure their access into water. And look at how much those farms are making him. 313, 331 per tile. That's pretty good on Mars.
139k he made of food alone, and almost 100k of water. So really taking advantage of the weakness of their opportunities. Of his his opponents. Seeing they don't really have a lot of water income, so therefore he's producing a lot of water and sells down, and he gets the money that his opponents is investing in buying water, as that drives the price up. So nice stuff right there.
Yep, well played by Mr. X. Definitely some areas that Lydris, Drakens, and Zero could learn from. Drakens pretty much make sure he does the mistake that gets lots of new players, which is make sure you found your HQ on the correct resources for upgrades.
Yeah, I've done that myself multiple times, but it's mostly due to misclick,
Yeah.
I think I'm finding something else.
Found nomads near silicon and aluminum and water. Those are the 3 resources that you're looking for. And if all the silicon's taken up, then found something else. I mean, there were other founds available. We did have This the spot where he founded his first HQ, that would have been fine for a scavenger. You have the aluminum a little bit to the north left, and then there is water all the way at the top of the map. Now that's going to be a little bit long distance shipping, but if you get like water engine or teleportation as a patent, you can make that doable. It's not the best found, but it's definitely doable found.
Absolutely. By the way, it's good to see also Mr. X taking advantage of the black market. He's really the only one in this lobby who used it to the extent it's supposed to be used. He was he was a bit on the short side with 10 buys, but still
it was a short game.
Using it a lot more than his opponents, and correctly so too. Yeah, as we see, he takes the victory.
Well, that's it for this game. We do still have a game going on Morgan's channel, which is twitch.tv/king_Morgan. It looks like a three-way battle between Status Warp, Dimmy, and Cat.